Hey, what's up, guys? This is Machine King here, and welcome back to the next episode of Deck Profiles. In today's video, we will be going over my Ritual Fusion Blue Eyes build. Now, this build is mostly because it's a casual build. It's not like my Bestial Blue Eyes, which is my main competitive tournament deck. This is more of a casual build. It mostly revolves around Dragon Master Magia. Getting that out, but I also have, of course, a good duelist never relies on one strategy in each deck. So there's also the rituals in there, Chaos and Chaos Max, which we'll go over in a little bit. Excuse me. I apologize. It's been a long week. So with that said, this deck was built in collaboration with Oberon the Galaxy Lord. He helped me build this quite a bit. Helped me out with the ratios a little bit. So a big shout out to him and his channel. Make sure y'all go check him out. He's really good with some great deck profiles, and I'll actually be starting a collab channel with him soon. Details on that at a later date. So with all that said, allow us to get started with the monsters. Now, because this is a casual build, I only run archetypal monsters. So there's no hand traps or anything like that in here. So with that said, let us get started with 3 copies of the infamous Blue Eyes White Dragon. Nothing more to say about this. Your beater, 3,000 attack at 2,500 defense. So next up, we got the other level 8s. We got the Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon, Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, and Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. Let's go over each one of these effects. Of course, you got Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. Reveal one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck, from your hand, and then you get to summon Blue Eyes. Of course, and then also it has this pop effect, which you can pop a that could target one monster in the field and destroy it, but it can't attack this turn. So a decent pop effect for a pesky monster. Next, we got Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. Of course, that's a graveyard effect. When sent to the graveyard and one of your monsters is destroyed, you get a special summon from the graveyard or your hand, Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. So really good for just getting another body on the field. And then, of course, you got Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon, which, of course, when it's special summoned, allows you to search a ritual spell card or a polymerization, which for this deck is needed because it's a ritual fusion-based deck. Speaking about rituals, here we got the 2 ritual monsters of Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon and Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. Let's go over each one of them. So Chaos is the weaker version of it. I don't call it weaker because it actually has quite a decent effect. So when Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon is summoned, it cannot be destroyed. Your opponent cannot target this card with the card effects and cannot be destroyed by my opponent's card effects. If it was ritual used by Blue Eyes White Dragon as the material used, when it declares an attack, you can change the battle position of as many monsters as your opponent controls as possible, and their attack and defense becomes 0. And of course, if it attacks a defense or monster, it can inflict piercing battle damage. So protection, decent battle changing positions, and can inflict piercing battle damage. Overall, a really good boss monster. And then, of course, you got Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, which, of course, ritual summon with Chaos form, both of these. And it must be ritual summoned. It cannot be special summoned by any other ways. It cannot be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects. And if it attacks a defense position monster, it inflicts double piercing battle damage. So while it doesn't have the position changing effect as Chaos does, it does a little bit more in the attack percentage, whereas Chaos only allows you to do regular piercing battle damage. This one does double piercing battle damage, so a lot of extra damage coming from Chaos Max. Next up, we have 3 of the Dictator of D's. Really good extender card. Let's go over the effect. When I control a Blue Eyes monster, you can choose the attack targets for your opponent's attacks. When you only control you could only use the following effects of Dictator of D once per turn. You could send one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand to your deck to the graveyard. Then special summon this card from your hand. I can then discard one Blue Eyes White Dragon or one card that mentions it, and then target one Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard and then special summon it. So, really great recovery tool and extender out. Also helps you set up the graveyard for a couple different effects. If you don't have any Blue Eyes in your hands, this is great for getting one in the graveyard so that you can use cards like True Light to get it from the graveyard to the field. So it's overall really good for getting Blue Eyes on the field. More roundabout way of doing it, but a decent way of doing it. Next up, we got the 3 Sages of Eyes of Blue, which, of course, when this is special summon, when this is normal summon, I can add one Light Tuner monster from my deck to my hand. Level 1 Light Tuner monster from my hand, except Sage, of course. Then I can discard this card, target one effect monster, and then tribute that monster, and then special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. I can summon a Blue Eyes monster from my deck. Staple card for Blue Eyes, of course. Almost every Blue Eyes deck runs 3 copies of Sages. And then, of course, we got Blue Eyes. We got the White Stone of Ancients, which, of course, when it's set on the field and destroyed by battle during the end phase, I can then summon a Blue Eyes from my deck or hand. This card is a really good extender. It's not seen as much. It's not seen as much in the competitive sense, but it is a really good way of just getting a Blue Eyes onto the field. So from no matter where it is, and then of course you can banish it to. You can then of course banish it to add one Blue Eyes monster from my graveyard and add it to my hand. So really good extender and recovery tool. And then of course we got 2 copies of the new Neo Kaiser Seahorse. This card is, if I control Blue Eyes White Dragon, I can special summon this card from my hand. I can target one Light Tuner monster you control and increase or decrease its level by 1. If this card was sent from the field to the graveyard, you could special summon one Blue Eyes monster or one card that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from my deck or graveyard. Send it from my deck to the graveyard, except, of course, Neo Kaiser Seahorse. So, once again, really good for setting up the graveyard. And with that leveling effect, it allows you to modify any card on the field to fit the synchro summoning of your needs. So, of course, the play would be to summon this Maiden and a Blue Eyes to summon, of course, Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Next up, we got 3 of the new Maiden of Whites. This card has a lot going on, so let's go over it. First of all, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to set one True Lights face up from my deck or graveyard in the face up spell and trap zone. If you special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon while this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card immediately from your graveyard. When a card or effect that's activated that targets this card on the field, or when this card is targeted from your attack quick effect, I can special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon or level 1 Light Tuner from my graveyard. So, if your opponent goes to attack it, you can then summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon to the field. Really good extender, setup, and special summoning. All within one card. It is the backbone of many Blue Eyes competitive and casual builds nowadays. In all 3 of my Blue Eyes decks, I run at least 2 or 3 of Maiden of White. It is an absolute must in every Blue Eyes deck. And of course, 1 copy of Master of Eyes of Blue. When this card's normal summon, I can target 1 Light Tuner monster from my graveyard and add it to my hand. I can special summon this card from your graveyard into your deck and then target 1 light effect monster you control and send it to the graveyard. And if I do, I can special summon 1 Blue Eyes monster from my graveyard, other than the Scent monster. So, allows you to get a Blue Eyes onto the field, and of course sets up the graveyard. And it allows you some more recovery. With that is all of the Blue Eyes monsters. So, pretty standard. Like I said, this isn't a competitive build, so there's no other hand traps. So, I was able to stock quite a bit of the old and new stuff in there to see if it all melds and works together, which it very much does. So first, let's go over the archetypal spells and traps. Just like the monsters, it is a mixture of old and new. Let us begin. We, of course, have 3 of our backbone staple Wishes of Eyes of Blue. I can discard 1 card and target 1 light tutor monster and 1 spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. Except, of course, Wishes. Then I can banish this card and then equip 1 Blue Eyes Fusion monster. Then target 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon I control and equip 1 Blue Eyes monster from my extra deck, which then the monster equipped with it gains 400 attack. This, of course, is to lead directly into your Tyrant Dragon, which, of course, I will go over later. We'll go over the combo with that later. Next up, we have 2 copies of the Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragon. So, this card allows you to get a monster from the deck, but there is a catch. If you do not control Blue Eyes White Dragon, the monster you summon in defense position must be Blue Eyes White Dragon. If you do own Blue Eyes White Dragon, then you can pick any Blue Eyes monster from the extra deck, or from the deck. And of course, you can banish this card and then fusion with using... You can only summon monsters. You can only summon monsters that are dragons. It does limit you a little bit. And then I can banish this card from my graveyard and fusion summon 1 monster from my extra deck using monsters from my hand or field, including a Blue Eyes monster. And then, of course, you can use each effect once per turn. So, it's your new fusion spell. It's your new way to get Blue Eyes out in the field. But it does lock you into dragons. But in a pure Blue Eyes deck, that doesn't really limit you all too much, of course. Of course, then we got 2 of the ultimate fusions. Normally, you only want to run 1, but since this is a more fusion-based build, in order to get Magia out in the field, it's probably better if you run... I run 2. Of course, Ultimate Fusion lets me summon using... except during the main phase, I can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from the extra deck that includes Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as Leo by shuffling the materials mentioned from your hand, field, or graveyard into the deck. Then I could destroy as much face-up control monsters as many Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons used for the fusion. So if I use 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons, I get a pop. If I use Blue Eyes Ultimate, I get a pop. 3 Blue Eyes, 3 pops. You know, it's a really good way to pop opponents' monsters depending on what you use. It is a really good fusion it's a really good archetypal fusion support card. Chaos Form, archetypal ritual spell allows you to get the Chaos Dragons out onto the field just by ritual summoning. So nothing much to say about there. Then we got Bingo Machine Go. Basically, I choose 3 Blue Eyes monsters. I mentioned Blue Eyes. It can be the monster spells or traps on my deck. Set them all out randomly. Pick 3 of them. Set them all out randomly. And then my opponent randomly chooses 1 to add to my hand. So, while not a guaranteed way to get what you want, if you put the 3 cards you put there are all cards that can help you, no matter what you do, no matter what your opponent does, it will help you in the long run. So, isn't used all too much in competitive, mostly because of the luck factor. It's depending on your opponent. But for casual builds, it's a really good way to try to get some of your better cards into your hand. Got your Mausoleum of White. This is a staple in almost any Blue Eyes deck now. Don't really need to say much about that. Got Ultimate Creature Destruction, another staple. Don't need to go in about that. Majesty with the Eyes of Blue. Reveal up to 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. And then destroy cards equal to the number of Blue Eyes White Dragons you show. Then I can banish this from my graveyard, and then ritual summon one ritual monster from your hand by attributing a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or field whose total levels equal the level of the ritual monster. So it's a backup ritual card. Really good for this deck. And then, of course, you got True Light. This has either two effects. Your opponent cannot target Blue Eyes White Dragon in your monster zones with cards effects. Well, this is face up for the spell and trap zone. If this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, destroy all monsters on the field. So, True Light has two effects. I can special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Blue Eyes White Dragon from my hand or graveyard. Really good extender. And then also lets me search a spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon with a different name from my hand or from my hold on, sorry guys. Set one spell and trap dimensions with a different name from cards you control in the graveyard. Right. So it allows you to get cards like Roar and Wishes and all the cards that mention Blue Eyes White Dragon to the field. So just a really good extender card. And with that, that is all the spell and traps for Blue Eyes White. That's all the archetypal spell and trap supports. And finally, for the main deck, we have the non-archetypal spell and trap support. Well, spell support. Of course, we have 3 Maiden, a Melody of the White Dragons. So you discard 1 card, and then you can grab 2 monsters with 3,000 attack and 2,500 defense. So really good for just, you always want... If you don't have them in your hand, a really good combo to grab with this is, of course, grabbing the Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. Then you got Advanced Ritual Art and High Ritual Art, 2 ritual support cards that really help with this deck. Advanced Ritual Art lets you ritual summon. If this card is used to ritual summon any one ritual monster, you can also send normal monster from your deck to the graveyard whose total equal the number. So if you're fusion summoning Blue Eyes Chaos Max, you can send a normal Blue Eyes from your deck to the graveyard to ritual summon it. Really good. Then you got High Ritual Art. This card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster from your deck. You must also tribute normal monsters from your hand whose level equal the level of the ritual summon ritual monster. Shuffle that ritual monster into the deck during your opponent's end phase. So it's not out there forever, but realistically, you want to try to use this card to end to finally finish your opponent off. So really good for trying to go for the final blow. Then you got Foolish Burial, of course. Sends 1 monster from your deck or graveyard. Really good card. No need to say much about that. And then, of course, I run 1 Polymerization. Not really much to say about Poly. Allows me to fusion summon. And with that, that is all of the non-archetypal spells and trap support, which means that is the entire main deck. So next, we will go over the extra deck. So, of course, in this one, we run 3 Spirits, 1 Azure, and 1 Ultimate Spirit. Because of the amount of tuners ran in this deck, we figured we wanted to run a little bit more of the Spirit package in there. So, not really much to say about these ones. These aren't the main focus of the deck. It's only if you really can. The most important part of this deck is trying to get the fusion or ritual summons out, but it's good to have these synchro monsters in there. And then, of course, we have the fusion monsters: Tyrant Dragon, Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Dragon Master Magia, Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, and of course Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Let's just go over each one. So, Tyrant Dragon is what you use Wishes for. So, the combo is you banish Wishes, then equip a Blue Eyes White Dragon with Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Then, with this is equipped, you tribute both to summon Tyrant Dragon, because Tyrant Dragon can be fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing a blue-eyes white dragon with an equipped spell, with an equipped monster onto it. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls, and once each, and then once per turn during the damage step. If this card battle, you could target one trap card in your graveyard and set it in your spell and trap zone. So, great for trap recovery. Neo's Blue Eyes Ultimate, yes, it has an effect, but in 9 times out of 10, there's no really point in going over what this does, because 9 times out of 10, you're not summoning this. The Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate is really only used to equip it onto Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then it has its graveyard effect. Tyrant Burst, you got you got Twin Burst Dragon, of course, Contact Fusion, and it can attack up to twice. Really good card for Blue Eyes. Next up, we got the normal Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. The original, no effect, 4,500 defense, 3,000 attack. Not much to say about it. And then, of course, we have the ultimate boss monster of this deck, Dragon Master Magia. Let's just read its effect. Must be fusion summoned while your opponent activates a card or a quick effect. Or an effect. Quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. You only use this effect in response to each type of card type. It's monster, spell, and trap. Once per turn. If this face-up monster returns with its owner control, if this face-up card is in its owner control, leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Blue Eyes or monster or Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster from your extra deck or graveyard. So it's a floater, it's an omni negate for each and every type of monster or card. So it is a really good card, and it's the ultimate goal of this deck. So that is all of the fusion monsters for this deck. And of course, finally, we go over the XZ's monster for the deck. And we have Galaxy Eyes Cypher Blade, Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon, Indigo Eyes Silver Dragon, Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon, number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, and number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. The only one we'll go over now is Indigo Eyes, because when I do my Galaxy Eyes deck profile, the Galaxy Eyes ones will be a lot more in depth. But for Indigo Eyes, of course, this is newer, so let's go over it. It requires 2 level 8 dragon monsters to rank into it. Cannot attack directly unless it has a normal monster as material. You can only use each of the following effects of Indigo Eyes Silver Dragon once per turn. If this card was XZ summoned, negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. And they can detach 1 material off this card and target 1 normal monster in my graveyard or banishment, special summon it, and it gains 1,000 attack. So, really good for recovering either monster from the banish or graveyard. And it also has the ability to negate all face-up cards your opponent controls. So, really good for on-spot negation. Really good for just negating everything that's on the field at the moment. That's the only downside, of course. And, of course, there's one that you can't really attack directly when it doesn't have a normal monster. But in this deck, that's fine, because you're going to have either at least 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon as material. So, that's fine. And with that said, that is all for the extra deck. Like I said, we will go over the Galaxy Eyes ones a little bit more in depth in the Galaxy Eyes review. So, with all that said, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Blue Eyes Fusion Ritual deck. This deck is really fun and interesting. It is like I said, it's a more casual build. It's a lot more of a casual build than normal, of course. But, like always, you know, I don't really play much competitive, so that's all we're really going to get is casual. This deck is very fun. Very blue eye spam, of course. I could definitely see this is the deck that Kaiba would probably play in the modern day, Galaxy Eyes included, because of course Galaxy Eyes is basically the evolution of Blue Eyes. Sorry, not sorry. With all that, that's all I really have to say about this deck. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I'll be starting a collab channel with the Oberon the Galaxy Lord. And one other person, Oberon the Galaxy Lord is going through some medical issues right now, so that's why the new channel, the Eye of Oberon, is not up at the moment. But once he gets through all that, we will definitely be starting that when he gets done. So with all that said, make sure you all like and subscribe, and I will see. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe to the video, get some interaction going so the algorithm shows that I am not a dead channel. And with all that said, I will see all of you guys in the next video. Have a great day, guys.